On April 29, 1992, Los Angeles, California finally erupted. Arson, looting, and other crimes caused over $1 billion in damages and for 58 people to lose their lives. As those around the world watched in terror as America's second-largest city erupted in violence, a question arose. How did things get so bad in Los Angeles? The answer to this question starts back in the 1960s during another riot in Los Angeles County, the Watts Riots. This set of riots in 1965 over police brutality on a young African-American male motorist was highlighted by the $40 million in property damages and 34 deaths. After the Watts riots, little changed in the police department, especially towards the black community. When Daryl Gates was selected as the new head of police in 1978, more and more violence became prevalent. A battering ram was brought into the police department, 16 people were killed by chokeholds, and a woman named Eula Love was killed over a utilities bill. These incidents, along with countless other blacks, Latinos, and Asian Americans that were attacked, rose tensions against the police immediately following the Watts riots and up until the LA riots. On May 3, 1991, a video emerged of multiple police officers, including Sergeant Stacy C. Kuhn, Officer Lawrence M. Powell, Officer Theodore J. Preseno, and Officer Timothy E. Wind, beating a black motorist named Rodney King far beyond what was necessary. With the video, King sued the officers. However, when the trial was moved to Simi Valley, a primarily white town where many police officers lived, the trial began to look less and less in favor of King. Finally, the jury came
out except one.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Lawrence M. Powell, not guilty.
After the verdict, the black community exploded. Peaceful protests began at Parker Center, but the peace wouldn't last long. On the intersection of Florence and Normandy, violence went unchecked as any non-black motorists were attacked, with some even being pulled out of their vehicles. The worst of those attacked at Florence and Normandy was truck driver Reginald Denny. On the first day of the riot at about 6:45 p.m., Denny was pulled out of a semi and beaten by 4 young men. One, named Damian Williams, even threw a brick at Denny's head. After the beating, 4 civilians who saw the attack on TV came and rescued Denny, taking him to the hospital. Denny's skull was fractured in over 90 different locations, and as a result, he had to go through years of therapy to regain the abilities to speak and drive normally again. The police tried to hold out in the city, originally holding a presence in Florence and Normandy. However, the officers were forced to pull out when they realized they weren't properly prepared for the riots. The LAPD tried to hold out and protect other areas of LA, including their own HQ, Parker Center. But once Chief Gates left the area to go to a fundraiser to save his job and his power, the riots got even worse. The riots continued onwards throughout the night, with people knocking down guard posts at the once peaceful Parker Center protest and shooting at firefighters. The second day of the riots was marked by looting in Hollywood and Koreatown. The people of Koreatown were naturally very upset and contacted the police to try and get some assistance. When law enforcement refused to protect Koreatown like they were in other, mostly white neighborhoods, the Koreans took it in their own hands to protect their shops. Violent shootouts resulted in a greater loss of life and made the riots much more dangerous, but also served as the last line of defense for Koreatown. The remaining 3 days of the riots saw an increase in police force and the National Guard. Curfews were put in place and thousands were arrested. The people of Los Angeles came out and helped clean the cities and buildings that had been burnt. By May 4th, 1992, the riots were decidedly over. The LA riots became the most costly riot in United States history, causing over $1.27 billion in insurance claims. Almost 60 people were killed and nearly 1,000 buildings were burned. The riots also affected the politicians of the day, most of all Chief Gates, who was forced out of office following the tragedy. The riots continued to impact Los Angeles and the black community, especially during the O.J. Simpson trial, when fears rose over another riot if the verdict came back as guilty. The concept of taking videos of attacks by the police, such as the Rodney King attack, also became a more common thing, especially with the rise of social media and the smartphone age. The LA riots was the culmination of events in Los Angeles, starting with the 1965 Watts riots and continuing with the militaristic police force until the city erupted in violence. The results of the riots can be seen today, as some businesses never reopened, and even as recently as 3 days ago, The last victim of the riots was identified. The 1992 riots have had a lasting impact on the city and the country as a whole, setting a precedent for more violence to come between the black community and the police, and starting a new era where every move one makes is no longer private.